Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've decided to watch this video. It's Mr. Jones from the Geography Department, and I'm going to walk you through the Comparing a Tropical and Temperate Climate, Manaus and Ponta del Este lesson. Below you'll see our three objectives: to create a success criteria and what makes a good graph, complete a climate graph on Manaus and Ponta del Este, and some of you will be able to explain Manaus's climate and Ponta del Este climate. So, to start us off, I've made a bit of a mistake with my climate graph. This might have been one I did when I was in school. After learning how to do it right, you won't see one of these again. What I would like you to do is break down this graph and look for what problems you can spot, what inaccuracies. So I'm asking you the question, what is wrong with this graph? Whatever ideas you think of, can you please put a list in your book? Okay, so I would pause the video and write a list of as many inaccuracies that you can see in this image. Okay, so you should have a list of inaccuracies now. What mistakes did you find? Some that stood out to me was this person did not use a ruler. Axis numbers were not spaced equally. If we go back, you can see it goes up 2, 4, 8, 12. We've got jumps of 2, jumps of 4, 4, jumps of 1. When doing an axis, it needs to be equal. It can be 2, 4, 6, 8, or 3, 6, 9, 5, 10, 15, for example. Bars we're touching. This is categoric data. Each month is a different category, so it needs its own bar, not connected to another one. Missing axis labels. At the bottom, you can see we've got letters. If no one puts the word months under here, this could just be a random jumble of letters. No use of measurements. They've labelled precipitation, which is our fancy geographical word for rainfall, but they haven't given me the units. So this could be 20 pints, 20 baths, 20 swimming pools. You need to put the units here. Today we'll be using centimetres. No title, a graph to show the climate of Manaus, and no key. In a climate graph, we appreciate a key to show the blue colour for precipitation and the red colour to show our temperature. So when you are putting together a good graph, these are the type of things you need to remember. Did you use a ruler? Did you use a pencil? Have you equally spaced axis numbers? Bars need to be the same width as other bars. Gaps need to be the same width as other gaps. Axis labels and the units. Make sure you've got a title. Make sure you have a key. So the first graph we'll be drawing is on an area called Manaus. Manaus is located in South America in the country of Brazil. It's in the Amazon rainforest. You'll find it to the northwest of Brazil. You'll see two photos here which will give you a hint of the climate that we're looking at. So the data for your climate graph. This is available underneath this video in one of our resources. The first one you'll be using is Manaus. As you can see here, we've got our letters, which are the months. We've got our temperature across here, and we've got our precipitation rainfall across here. What to remember, precipitation is the bar graph. Way I remember this is imagine that each bar is the colour blue because it's full of water. The line graph will be second, coming the other way, through temperature. So you will need this information. Please make sure it's available. Drawing your axes. It's nice and easy to start off. It looks like a traditional bar graph. You'll need a full clean page for this graph. I've practiced on an A5 workbook. A4 will be fine, or any notepad you have at home. Because not all of you will have access to graph paper, we're going to talk about lines and centimetres. You will need a ruler which you can measure with. So our x-axis at the bottom needs to be 1 centimetre per month. Altogether, it'll be 12 centimetres and 5 millimetres to make sure you have a gap between December and our second axis we'll be drawing later. So our first y-axis, y1, needs to be 20 lines up, or roughly 16 centimetres. Please pause the video and draw this and press resume when you're ready. Okay, so you've got your axes ready for your precipitation bar graph. You are now going to be plotting your bar graph. As you can see, it's labelled here, rainfall or precipitation in centimetres. As you can see, bars have a gap in between them, and they line up with each corresponding month. As you can see by the bar chart, what you are going to need to do is look at your first value for January, work your way up, and finish the bar at that value. I'd like you to pause the video and fill in each bar for precipitation. Please make sure you use the correct row. Way to remember is tick them off once you have plotted them. Please pause the video and do the bar graph, and then resume when you're ready to move on. Okay, if you're back listening to me, you're ready for your Y2 axis. Opposite your Y1, this is where it becomes new. This is where it becomes part of a climate graph. You might be familiar, we did a lesson on farming in year 8, and we drew climate graphs, showed different climates for different farmers. For the Y2 axis, you will gain 16 centimeters up. If you can reach 16 centimeters, each 5 millimeters, so half a centimeter, should represent 1. This should mean that this line should go up to the number 32. Please pause the video and add that line to your graph. Resume when you're ready. Okay, so now you've got your Y2 axes, your Y1 axes, and your X axes. We're now going to look to plot our temperature. So you'll need the temperature row on your data sheet. What you will need to do is place an X or a dot on each value. For example, in December, the temperature might be 28. You are no longer using this axis, you are using the one to the right. So I'll find December, work my way up the bar to 28, which is roughly here, and I'll put a cross or red dot. Preferably, it's easier to work from December to January because you'll be closer to these values. The next would be 29. I find 29. I place a red dot. Continue this till it moves across the graph, and then join them up with a pencil and a ruler. Once you've done that, after you pause the video, you can resume. Okay, so by now you should have your bar and you should have your red line graph. You also need your labels on each side, temperature in degrees, rainfall in centimeters, months at the bottom. Your title will be at the top, climate graph from Manaus in Brazil. And you should have a key at the top right saying temperature in the color red, precipitation, the color blue. Check your graph. Does it have a title, axes labeled, numbers on the axis evenly spread, rulers being used for axis lines, bars and line graph, and a key to show color of the rainfall bar chart, a blue, and a temperature line graph, red. Okay, we're moving on to analysis. You will find a write-in frame for your analysis on the help sheet DJ. In this analysis, you will describe how the rainfall changes throughout the year and say when the wettest months are and how much rainfall they get. You will then describe how the temperature changes across the year and say when the hottest month is and how hot it is, and you will say how much the temperature ranges. I've put a write-in frame on the help sheet if you need it. It'll give you clear guidance how to work through these 2 points of analysis. Could you please complete your analysis for Manaus and resume the video when you're ready. Okay, so you've got your graph for Manaus and you've got your analysis. Now you need to do Deluxe, which is your second box of data. It's very important to use the exact same steps you've used for Manaus to complete a climate graph for Deluxe. This means you need the same axes. So even though the values might be lower, please make sure that the left one will go up to 20 and the right one will go up to 32. So you need to show the same measurements. Because if we're comparing climate graphs and looking at them, even if Deluxe bars look much lower and they don't need all that wasted space, it's clear to see that there is less rainfall. So what I would like you to do, you can go back, rewind the lesson, but instead of Manaus, you need to use Deluxe. Please pause the video and do this, and resume when you're ready. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. well done. You should have on your checklist. At the beginning, we did a starter where we looked at what makes a good graph. You should have a separate climate graph for Manaus and Ponta Deluxe and analysis for both. If you have done all those tasks, you have completed the lesson. Congratulations and well done. If you need to contact me, I'll be available through Teams, where you can ask any more questions or any questions when you return. Best of luck and thank you very much.